We're looking at how to now change the brake pads on a VX220. These are the rear brake pads. I think I've already done an example on this on the bench with the entire suspension off, but we're going to see how to do it on the car. First thing to do, I think, is to remove the handbrake cable. So we have to lift this up and pull it out. So sometimes the spring can be easier to remove, but maybe not on this one. I'm going to see now how I can just lift that out. There you go. That's the handbrake cable out, and I'm going to move that out of the way. So that's that done. Next thing is to loosen the one retaining bolt that's holding the caliper on, which is a 17mm spanner. So we're going to loosen that. Give it a few taps. It's easier than just putting lots of strain on it. Yep. It's a bit tight. When we put all this stuff together, we'll clean all the bolts with wire brush. And I'll put a bit of AC50 on them, stop them from rusting up and seizing up. Okay, so that's that bolt come out. Now the other thing we need to do is we need to remove this pin that holds the calipers in. And the way you're going to do that is there's a very small aperture at the back. You can see the pin going through the caliper. There's a very small aperture at the back. And I've got the end of a rivet, and I'm going to put it through that aperture, and then I'm going to, it's hard to do it without seeing, but, and then I'm going to just knock it in. If I can see if I can move that pin out. Right, a little bit difficult to do it this way. That hurt. There, you can see the pin coming out. There you go. Now, when you get it towards the end, this goes in at an angle, so what I've got to just get the last bit out is a little bolt. It's M4, and that should fit in. That out. A bit difficult to get some power on that. Put that on there. There you go. That's it, it's come out. Now we can just get our pliers and pull that out. Okay, spring came off at the back here, which in this case would go in just there. That holds the calipers. You want it on the springy section so that you have to push it in and keep the calipers taut. So we got that out. Sorry, keep the brake pads taut. We need to get rid of this. Okay, now the calipers are removed. The brake pads and the calipers removed by some force here, but before you put that force there, if you remember the retaining bolt that we took out from here, that is on a slider. As you can see here, this is a slider. So before you pull this caliper, you've got to pull the slider back. So I'm going to just pull it back because it's sat in there, and this one is a bit tough. You might need a pair of grips actually on the slider. I'm going to see if I can just hold it with the pliers if they open wide enough. Just give it a twist. I've got a bit. No, I cannot hold it with this, so I'm going to pause the video and just get a pair. Right, I've removed the slider back, so I can now pull this back. Just get a little crowbar. You can see it pulls back like that, but that's not going to get it off because it's pivoting on a bottom slider, but it's not going to have enough room to get this off, so you actually have to take the disc off as well. So this is a 5mm Allen key. It's just a retaining one. God, it would be tight, wouldn't it? Let me give it a hit. There we go. Remember, all these things, when you put them back together, clean them up. Pervasive 50 or copper grease. Stop you getting any grease before. Okay, so that's come off. So now the disc will be free. Yep. Whoever did the disc before had put some copper grease at the back of it. That's why it come off nice and easy. Thank you, mate. So now this, when we pull it back, you can see. Let me just make sure the handbrake cable is removed. Yep. There you go. So we've taken the disc off, and there's our pads. So pads should come off quite easily, he says. There's one. Haven't got very much left on there. Wearing out somewhat unevenly actually. I don't know why that is. And there's the other pad that's come off. I'm told these are Mintex 1144s. Don't know. Weird. Anyway, they definitely need to be repaired. I mean replaced. That is going very low. Okay. I'm just going to pause the video at the moment because I'm going to give this all a clean. And then I'm going to show you how you can retract the piston on the caliper here, which is quite simply, you're going to use a circuit spanner like that. I basically hold it like this, and I will put it in there, and then you just turn it clockwise. But before I do that, I will release the bleeding nipple. I'll put a tube on there, release the bleeding nipple, so when I retract it, the pressure of the fluid can come out of the tube, and I'll know that there's no air going in, there's no one's pressing the pedal or anything, and there'll be no air bubbles in there. Okay, so we'll just pause a second while I clean this up. Yeah? Right, so I've just cleaned that up, the caliper, etc. I greased my slider a bit, so that's now moving better, which is the way it should have been moving. I also took it off the lower slider there, cleaned that up, and got a bit of AC50 on there as well to stop any seizing. So that whole thing slides. We really want this to slide really nicely. So now we're going to see how we retract the piston, and the way we're going to do that, first of all, is using an 11mm spanner to release the bleeding nipple, tube, nice tight fit this end, nice tight fit, and you can have a bottle at the end to collect it, but nothing's going to come out, so I'll show you that at the moment. So, first of all, we just want to release the pressure on the nipple. Okay, that's a bit tough, as usual. Nothing's easy. Give that a little tap. There you go. So that's, so I'm just going to turn that around a bit more. So I can just release that. There you go, that's released. So now, when I push the piston in, it should push in a lot easier because it's not going against any pressure. Right, let's hope this goes in now. There you go. So turning that. Hope you can see what I'm doing. You might want to bring the camera up at the top So you can see, because all you can see is the caliper, you can't see the spanner, the circuit pliers going in. No, from the top. Right, so hopefully you can see now. We turn this. And we will put some of the remaining fluid out when I did the other side. Just put that there. Right, so you can see the fluid at the top of the tube. Some people buy special tools for this. In my entire life of doing brake press and release of calipers, never seen the need for it. But I'm sure there are some that are so well seized that you do need it. In which case I'll probably be doing a caliper refurb. So that's it, as far as in as it's going to go. And now I can still see fluid at the top, so I'm not getting any air in the system because the fluid is still at the top of the pipe. You can see it just a level here. So now all I'm going to do is just retighten that nipple. That's it, that's good enough. Now we just... Okay, so we've retracted the... let's get the lid back on this before I spill it. Which wouldn't be the first time. Get this pipe to the side. Clean up any residue of fluid that's left on there. Yeah, that's fine. Close that. Right, so now all we have to do is put the pads back on. I didn't bring my pads with me, so we'll just pause it for a second and I'll get...
Yep.
Right, so what I've done, I've just smeared a bit of anti-seize on the piston and anti-seize on these jaws of the caliper, because that's what's going to be touching the brake pads. Might help to prevent some squeal. So these calipers, some of them, these pads, some pads come with a spring at the top like the previous one. So you would put the spring bit on first and then clamp, push down the bottom end. Well, that would be on this side. But this one doesn't. This is carbon range. We just put that in there. That fits nicely. And we'll get the other one. That's in there. Fits nicely. Okay, now this might be a bit fiddly because I have to put the disc on at the same time as closing this up on it. So we'll just turn this the right way around for the retaining bolt, so I know which way to put the disc. This is a disc retaining screw will go in there. So sometimes the pads just fall out as well when I do this. There you go. Okay, so that's gone in and that's in. So now I'm just going to put this back on. Let me get a bit of my, there's my brush that I'm using. There's AC50 on it. I can just brush that on there. I love this AC50 stuff. It does work quite well. Right. Fine. And my, let's just put that in. This doesn't have to be tight really, because you've got the wheel that comes on here and bolts go through the wheel onto this, and it's actually those bolts that hold this disc properly in place. This is just a retaining screw just to keep it in its sort of right position, so don't go over excited with that. Okay, so now we're going to push this back in. Remember I have to slide the slider back, so I'm going to push it back, and then I can push this in and then push the slider back in so that it fits in. That's it, that's sitting in very nicely. So I'm going to get my retaining bolt, wherever that is, and I'm going to put that in. I haven't cleaned that yet. a little bit of AC50 on there as well. That's enough. Just coat it. Put that bolt in. Tighten that up. Right, this is all boring for you guys now, just watching me tighten things. It's just the reverse of putting things on. Don't forget you have to do the handbrake cable still, and you have to do the retaining pin and the spring on the pads. Right. There we go. Right, so I'll do the pin and the, you can find the pin, right, the pin goes in, the spring has to go in at the back, okay, so here we go, I'll just get this pin in, it's difficult for me to do it, right, get my, oops, pad fell out. Right, it's getting a bit fiddly now, because I'm not looking at what I'm doing. Right, I see what I'm doing, I'm trying to push the... Well, you're not being very helpful, are you? I'm going to have to stick my head in the way now. So I'll just slide that through. Need to get that one in there. I think I've slid it through a bit too much. Oop. Not really lining up. Get this pad in its right place. There we go. Oh, this is been very helpful. Neil, yeah. Okay, that's come through too much. Push it forward. Right, there we go. This is my rubbish screwdriver that I use here, so in case anybody says, oh, you were damaging your screwdriver, being long damage, long time ago. Just make sure that's seated in. There we go. That's the caliper pad's done. This, so the only thing now I have to do is just pull this handbrake cable. Right, so that's all done. I've put the handbrake cable back on. Basically, I just used my little screwdriver in there just to pull the handbrake lever down, and then just held the top of the cable in my pliers and did it. But it was too fiddly and couldn't really record it because I would have had my hands in the way, so you wouldn't have seen much. But it took me about a minute and a half to do, so it's not really that difficult. I hope yours will go on quite easily as well. Make sure your springs are still seated properly. That brings the handbrake cable back into its original position. Right, that's it. Hopefully you get an easy task doing your handbrakes. Doing your brake pads. Remember, once you've done them, pump your brake pedal to seat these in before you try, and then these ones have to be bedded in a little bit. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Into this.